not broadcast. Good morning from Advertising Specialty Services. We are going to interview Diana Morrison, who has been in business for 28 years, and she is going to share her tips and advice on what successful things she has done to grow her business. So let's go inside and meet the Queen of Savannah.
Welcome to Ad Specialty. So good to see you.
Yay, come on in. So this is Diana's place. She's had it since 2004. Is that right?
We built this building in 2004.
Yeah.
Yes.
Talk about what you do
lots
here.
of promotional products in the showroom. There's about 600 square feet here of showroom that we have just a sprinkling of what we sell. Our industry has 1,200,000 different items from 6,200 manufacturers in the United States, which is just a great opportunity for anyone to promote their business.
Absolutely. The last time we had Diana on Open for Business was in 2004. We were standing right here on a bulldozer.
Oh my gosh.
And I was
how funny
asking
is
you,
that?
I know, I was asking you questions like, what did you learn about the building process for other businesses? And that was when Open for Business ran on Comcast, and that was almost, that was a long time ago.
Yes, that was almost 13 years ago.
Yep.
Oh wow, that is amazing. I can't believe it's been that long.
Yes.
It seems like yesterday that we started in 1988 with 700,000 products. I mean 70,000 products. And in 28 years, we've increased from 70,000 to 1,200,000.
Wow.
It's
See,
been
that's
great.
so successful. That is why I wanted to capture all of, at least 3 ideas that any small business owner watching this can use with their business.
Well, I would say that the building process, like you mentioned earlier, was definitely an education. It was a challenge.
Would you do it again?
100 times.
Okay,
Absolutely. Well, I think it gives you real, true ownership of everything you have. You're in control of your own destiny. The landlord can't kick me out.
Right.
Because
Plus,
he
it's
had
an
a better
asset.
offer.
Right.
And it absolutely is an asset, on your balance sheet. So that, that's a wonderful thing too. Even though I must say that I did learn a lot about the difference in Advertising Specialty owning this piece of property and Diana Morrison owning this piece of property.
How did you do that? That's the kind of tips that business owners need to know. I mean, what did you
from
decide?
a tax perspective, I mean, it just only makes sense because Diana Morrison receives rent from Advertising Specialty. Hello, come on in. How are you? Come on in. Good to see you.
Video and some stuff.
Ansley, can you help? Thank you.
Absolutely.
From a tax perspective, it's just it just makes sense. Diana Morrison receives rent from Advertising Specialty, meaning it's
Right.
I can write off the interest,
Right.
and Advertising Specialty can write off the rent. So there's numerous things, that just being one of them. So,
Are you an LLC or a C or a?
I'm an S. I'm an S corp.
Okay. Yeah.
But yes, and that for me, for my size business of roughly 10 people, that's the really right thing for me.
And that offers you the most protection with the building too.
Well, it offers me the most protection, but it also offers me the best advantages. In today's world, we have to make sure that we set our businesses up as tax friendly for ourselves as we can. Or you can end up working, almost buying yourself a job to pay the government.
Right.
So it's really, really important that you get really good counsel. And I would tell you that probably one of the biggest challenges I have had in business is finding a good accountant.
Is it an accountant or a financial planner or both?
Well, both. Yeah, they're two totally different animals. But I think there's a lot of good financial planners out there. It's hard to find a good, engaged CPA. And by engaged, I mean one who's talking to you, one who's not just printing out what you gave him for QuickBooks.
Right.
You know, one who's saying, here, Diana, I see this. Here, Marjorie, I see this. You really need to tweak this area. Do you realize if you did this, it would open up this? So finding a good CPA is golden.
It really is golden.
You really have to do it.
And you can message Diana below or email her and ask her.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So what I learned from the building was that it's not always easy. And sometimes, most times, things that aren't easy offer you the largest reward.
Good.
But I would say lots of things in my, what tips would Diana give?
Yes. I've learned so much from you over the years. You have been my mentor. And mentorship is how businesses grow.
Oh, absolutely.
And if you don't have a mentor, there's a less likelihood you're going to succeed. I mean, the stats are phenomenal.
That's
you
true.
You better get a mentor.
Absolutely, and that's how I really got through. Well, you know too.
Yep.
We had our little group, our
Let's
little
talk
power
about that,
group of
the
women
viewers might
business
not know
owners.
that.
Yeah. We called it our WBOD, and I can't tell you how old it is now, but I think 17, 18 years,
Yes.
probably, maybe even longer than that. I'd have to ask Valerie Edgman.
I love the acronym.
WBOD stood for, remember, Women's Board of Directors.
Yeah, but people named it something else too along the way.
That's true.
I'd love to see if anybody could text or put some what they think it was.
Female mafia.
Yeah. Exactly.
I never really thought of us that way, but it was kind of funny to hear people talk about that. But, you know, that group of women that were small business owners, you know, no partner involvement, you know, just you out there hanging on by your chewed off fingernails.
Right.
In a group of people that trusted each other and knew each other's businesses, and we helped each other grow.
Yes.
So, you know, for those of us who didn't have a
support group.
Well, who didn't have a support group or who didn't have that great CPA, like I've been fortunate enough to have, or who didn't really understand about commercial real estate and how to give yourself for your 48th birthday a piece of property, you know, and build on it and see that process. For those who didn't even have something as simple as a handbook. And, you know, having someone from an HR business sitting on that board, I really feel like that those 6 women on our WBOD did for us the same thing as those 7 women who made Historic Savannah what it is.
Yeah, you're right.
You know, I mean, we made each other strong in the areas that we were strong.
Lois Masteller always had such very interesting information on HR. I didn't know about having a book, handbook, really. Yeah. You know, that's the beauty of reaching out to the community and asking other small business owners for tips and advice. And that's how this show started back in 2000.
Oh, wow.
Because when I was helping to turn my dad's business around, I reached out to the community and said, what do I do about payroll? What do I do about this? And so much good information came out. I said, I need to collect it all and share it with the small business community. So that's how this started many years ago.
That's for sure. That is for sure.
You know, and it's also fun to be associated with SCORE because you can share this information with other small business owners.
Absolutely. So. Absolutely. You asked me to talk about some tips that I feel like really made a difference. A lot of those tips did come from what I learned in that group, but one of the things that I continue to see recently on all the TED Talks is the sustainability of staff. That with the younger, the millennials, that, you know, if you have one on your staff for 2 years, you're very fortunate because they're always looking for step next. It's the way they're wired. And not that there's anything wrong with that from their perspective, but, you know, from a business owner's perspective, it's expensive to hire, train, turnover, rehire, train, turnover, rehire. So I really think that understanding what's important to whatever the age group you employ is, and we employ several different age groups. What's important to them.
Can you give us a case study for an example? What are some things that you do?
Well, for example, you know, I was a single mom. You were a single mom.
Mm-hmm.
You know how hard it was to have a job and a house and a child on your own or children on your own, whichever. So one of the pieces of our business model supports young mothers, whether they be single moms or moms who want to have a career, but yet they also want to have a life at home.
Right.
You know, they want to see their
Balance.
husband.
Yeah.
They want to be with their children. They want to see those first steps. They want to be the one to teach them how to say the alphabet.
Absolutely.
And so we provide that model that we don't care where they work from.
Beautiful.
Most of our salespeople, they always have a space here if they want to come here, but they can work from home or the park while little Jimmy is playing.
Yeah.
They can work from anywhere. And our industry has become so web-based and so electronic-based that it really doesn't matter where they are. They don't need to be sitting inside this bricks and mortar, which is probably a good thing, because if they were all here at one time, we'd have to enlarge.
Yes. So how many people do you have
There
associated
are 9.5 of us, and the half is we always try to have a student intern.
Good.
And we've really found that high school seniors and juniors, high school seniors and juniors really are impacted more by their time here.
What a great tip. I've never heard you say that.
Yep, absolutely. Well, because there's always, with an intern, there's always the things that come with that paid job, because
Right.
they're not free interns, they're paid interns, that nobody really wants to do. Somebody's got to take out the trash.
Yeah.
And so not only do they learn while they're here what they need for their next step, and we do try to gauge it towards what their interests are. That, you know, we don't want to bring an intern in just to learn business. We want to bring an intern in that understands the advertising and the promotion business and wants to do that, you know, further down the line. But
How do you find them? Or do they find you?
a lot of them find us, and I'll tell you that a lot of them find us because of Junior Achievement, that because we host students for Junior Achievement on their come to work days, that word gets around, and because we go into the school system
Another great tip.
with Junior Achievement, we find great kids that, and usually they're with us about a year and a half, which is great.
high school.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes 2 years. And they come back. I mean, we just, you know, we get college graduation invitations and baby shower invitations and wedding invitations for people that were here 10 years ago.
So how do you interview them? How do you know they're going to be enthusiastic and they're going to be on time? And
Well, we allow them to come play with us a day. And that's
Like shadow.
Exactly. And see exactly what it is that everybody does. And they can come in and have fun, and then we do sit down and we interview them. We tell them the fun part of what they'll be doing, and we tell them the non-fun part about what they'll be doing. But we all know that no matter what it is in life, it doesn't matter if it's work or life or owning a home or having children, it ain't all fun all the time. You
That's
know,
why they call it work.
Exactly. So there's some things that we have to do to teach them, and that's our ultimate goal, is teaching them the soft skills more than anything they need to go to their next step. You got to be here when you say you're going to be here. You know, you've got to do what you say you're going to do while you're here. You've got to be productive. I can't go pull you out of the bathroom from being on your cell phone for 30 minutes.
So do you have policies? I guess that's in your...
We do. Yeah, absolutely. They have to read the handbook as well. Thank you, Lois Masteller.
Yes.
But, you know, there's so many little things that I think business owners miss by being so in tune with, we got to sell, we got to sell, we got to sell, we got to sell. You know, we got to increase our volume, increase our volume, increase our volume. And you know what? It's not all about that. It really isn't. Sitting on the fence 14 years ago, had to make a decision. What do? Do I fall back and get smaller because we can't maintain where we are? Or do I go to my next step in this bricks and mortar and grow and double the size of our company? So we did that, and we doubled the size of our company, and that's been wonderful for us since 2004 when we actually took occupancy here, and doubled our staff. But we also had to and make that determination again, and that was kind of in 2012. In 2012, when the economy started to really get its feet back on it after a terrible few times of 8, 9, 10, and 11.
So that you started feeling the recession in 2008.
We did feel the recession in 2008, but we, in carrying out that thought of small versus large and always selling, is that we decided in 2012 that we didn't want to grow again, that we were happy where we were with what we have, and that even if we grew, the bottom line to the business probably wouldn't be a whole lot of difference.
Right.
Because, you know, with volume comes cost. And is it really worthwhile working that much harder, that many more hours, that many more people, for not a whole lot of difference in the bottom line? And I am a firm believer, back to the what sustains our employees, is be here when you're here and be gone when you're gone.
Have a life.
Go have a life.
Yeah.
You have to do
We
that.
need to take that advice too.
Actually, you know, I have taken my own advice.
Good.
I started my New Year's resolution in 2011 was that you could get me whether you wanted me for business or for volunteerism.
Or on a live stream.
You could go on a live stream. You could get me from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday. And after that, I'm shutting down my computer. I shut off the email to my cell phone, and I don't look at it anymore. And if I haven't done my job Monday through Friday, 7A to 7P, shame on me if I can't take that time for my staff, and my staff can't take that time for themselves.
Wow.
So, I'm so far.
So good. That's a number of years
So far,
too. So
yeah,
very good.
it is, and it's helpful. It was hard, and I will tell you that I almost feel like that all of us deserved it.
Yeah.
After the time of 2008, 9, 10, and 11,
Talk
when it
to
was
us more
so
about that.
so hard.
Yeah.
Well, you know, honestly, I know you know this because you've wiped those tears for me before, but you know, in July, right after the 4th of July holiday, we came back in 2008, and I honestly didn't think that the phones worked.
Wow.
And that maybe our email was not pumping everything through as it should. We lost 35% of our annual volume in 5.5 months.
Yeah, but it was you and the rest of the business community.
Well, true. It wasn't just me.
Yeah, but
it
none
was,
of us really knew that in July.
Right.
Yeah.
But we found it out in a
Yes.
hurry.
Yeah.
And it's really hard, you know, in my own little simple way of saying it, it's hard to stop the bleeding that quickly. It really is, because you got to downsize. You got, you know, the hardest thing in the world that you could possibly do is look someone straight in the face and say, you're doing a great job and I adore you. However, I can't pay you anymore.
Yeah.
You know, that's probably one of the hardest things I have ever done in my entire life.
So you made it through the recession.
We did make it
What
through
are you
the
doing
recession.
differently now to prepare for the next one? Because there will be another one.
Absolutely. Well, I do feel like that hard times teach you the best lessons.
Yes, absolutely.
I feel like I am a much better business owner
Absolutely.
post-recession than I was pre-recession, because I learned how to be lean, mean, efficient. I learned how to hire well. I learned how to train well, because every person was important and every person made a difference. But I think the main thing, you know, we can all hire well and train well.
Yeah.
But when you get them in the house, you have to learn how to love them well so they love you and your business back.
Wow.
You know, productivity really is about engagement.
It is.
It's really not
Yeah.
about what your skills are.
Yeah.
It's really not about what your work ethic is. It's about how engaged you are to utilize those skills and that work ethic. So I am a firm believer in that you really, really have to look at your employees every day, and more than once a day if you can, and say, I so appreciate you. You did a great job here. You didn't do such a great job here. Let me help you understand how that tomorrow I'm going to tell you you did a great job here.
Right.
You know, fussing at people to me has never been a good option for growth.
No, it makes people shut down, I think. It doesn't encourage them to.
And it doesn't engage them. It really doesn't. But, you know, as things grew back and we grew back, that was the point where we had to decide, do we want to get bigger again? Do we want to sell this building and go build another one? Or, you know, kick out my tenant over there and grow to that side? And we decided no. You know, with the way the world is today, that people are so mobile, that we don't need more bricks and mortar. And we don't really need more volume that would take us outside of where we sit today to really make us richer. And I don't mean in dollars and cents, but make us richer as a company. Not just about bottom line, but about the experience that we offer to a client.
Right.
And the experience that we offer to our staff. Because if we aren't good at it with what we have, why do we want to be bad at it with more? And I just feel like we're really, really good at it with what we have.
Absolutely.
Always room for growth. Always room for growth. Whether that be, you know, emotional growth, intellectual growth, or financial growth. Always room. But I think business owners who think, I got to get bigger, 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 I got to sell more, 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 they really need to take a step back and look at what feeds the complete picture for sustainability.
So did you learn some of these lessons in a book or the SBDC or the advisory board?
You know, you've always made me read. Which is not the natural thing for me to do, is to go read something. Hello, UPS, come on in.
What can Brown do for us?
Which they do every day, twice a day. Yay! So that leads me to never forget to have good partners that do well for you.
Right.
Brown does well for us.
Good. Yeah. Did you ever use the SBDC? You know, every single city across the United States should have a small business development center.
I agree.
I think they do. I think SBDCs are all over the country.
Yeah, I do think that they are.
I know they're definitely all over Georgia.
They're called something different all over the country because our SBDC is funded by the University of Georgia, so it is a Georgia-based.
Right.
But they're different versions of that called different acronyms are all over the country.
Thankfully. And for those watching, that is a free service. It's called the Small Business Development Center. It's located at 111 East Liberty Street in Savannah, Georgia. And you can call them and set up a session for free mentoring. They're a lot like SCORE.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Lynn Voss that worked for the SBDC then, you know, she is just an amazing human. She is not that person who's going to tell you anything but exactly what you need to know.
Yes.
And so when I was trying to determine if I could afford to buy this land and build a bricks and mortar, I took 3 years of my books to her and said, here you go. Can I afford this? And her answer was, probably not, but let's just see. And I mean, she got down to the brass tacks. Numbers were her thing.
Yeah.
Of Diana, before you do this, you need to have this amount of money in the bank that you don't need for anything else. And with your current cash flow situation of, you know, when your cash flow is good and on the slower months or when your cash flow is not great, here's where you're going to have to build up a bank of money because your cash flow won't support it during those 2 months.
Yeah.
So, you know, she was great for me. She really opened my eyes about a lot of things because someone with my nature, I just kind of feel like, whatever, I'll figure it out. You know, I'll figure it out when it gets here. But
you have figured it out over these past 28 years, because you started right across the street from your garage. I mean, from your trunk of your car, right?
Well, true. That was my first year and a half.
Yeah.
I did work out of my car, but then we were across the street here for 15 years in the 409 building, where we're 402 now. So yeah, it's definitely been a growing experience. Something I would really want to leave everyone with as well, other than the hire well, train well, love what you have, and the make sure you don't get too big for your britches and think that all you have to do is sell to be successful, because selling won't make you successful. But bringing home the bacon from the selling and utilizing it well will make you successful. The other thing is that you just have to be seen, known, out there in one way, shape, or form, whatever that looks like for you, whether that be that good old belly-to-belly marketing with networking groups or organizations that you belong to. Hello, come on in. Organizations that you belong to, of being seen and having people know you, because people buy from people they trust.
Absolutely.
And people trust people based on continued experience. So whether it be newspaper, TV, radio, PR, that, you know, you've done such a great job of bringing up so many small businesses in this community with your knowledge and your resources and your business model. Because you've also pressed out that helping single moms and moms who want to stay at home and raise their own children. Yeah. You know, we share that model. Absolutely. Yes. But those things are just so vital to all of us.
So if a small business owner is watching this, like, how could you help them? Like, what would you do to help them with visibility?
Well, a lot of it depends on what they are. Are they a for-profit business? Are they just starting? Are they just looking to, you know, brand an event or host an event, or, you know, for-profit, non-profit, just starting, seasoned, whatever.
So you assess them.
Yeah, absolutely. We assess what their needs are. And we try not to let people that walk in our front door and say, I want to buy some pens because I'm going to a trade show. We try to help them wrap their head around what they really need, rather than what their first response was. I'm just going to go buy some pens.
Because they don't realize you have over 1 million products.
Well, they don't. And they don't realize what's good for them. Yeah. And one of the ways that we kind of bring them back into reality is that old hokey thing about, you know, don't give tennis balls to a golfer.
Right.
Yeah. So you got to know who your market is before you take that next step of some very affordable, long-term, targeted advertising pieces like pens and pencils and hats and shirts, that before you put your logo, your brand, on a shirt and send your people into the street, or something as simple as a name tag, and send them to a networking event or a trade show where you're going to be presenting your company, you know, face forward and giving a piece of targeted exposure, advertising for somebody to walk away with and remember you when they do need you. 1,200,000 products sounds like an awful lot of products. It's crazy, and it is, and all of them are brandable.
Right. What's the coolest brand that you've ever put together for somebody? And what products?
I think the coolest thing we've ever done is when Sammy Hagar opened Cabo Wabo in Lake Tahoe. We did the singing full color process. You know how you open up a birthday card, it says happy birthday to you?
Yeah.
Well, we did an open up singing invitation to the people that he, wow, that's so cool. For the people that he was inviting to the grand event of when they first opened the door, and it sang the song. It sang the Mas Tequila song. I mean, that's probably
cool. That wins. Do you have awards that you could submit that campaign to?
Well, you know, there's always the Addies, but yeah, there are for us.
Submit
yeah,
that's really
good.
Well,
it's older now. That's probably 10 years old now. But you know, we've done some really cool stuff like that.
Who would have even thought you could do something like that?
But we've also done the family reunion that walks in the door that needs 50 simple little T-shirts that says "I love my family" and we're hanging out in Savannah. You know, we can do everything in between. I mean, it doesn't have to be Sammy Hagar.
That's pretty cool.
but
how did you make that connection?
It was an ad agency out in Arizona.
Well, how did you make that connection?
So that goes back to the original business model.
Yeah.
Of when I very first started, and it was just me, and then it became me and a half a person, and then me and a whole person that would process orders and send bills. So I was doing the selling, and my other person was doing, you know, the admin type work. Well, then I got to the point of where I couldn't do all the selling. And I was a little bit nervous about hiring someone, bringing them into the fold, and training them just for them to become my competitor. Very simple, very similar to you.
Yeah.
So I walked on to Post, because you could get onto Hunter then.
Yeah.
And I walked into the Army ACS office, and I said, I want to hire military officers' wives. And they all just about fell on the floor and said, why? No one ever comes in here and says that. We have the hardest time finding
another great tip.
Jobs for them because they're only here 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
And I said, well, here's why I want to hire them. They're smart, they're educated, they speak the King's English. And this was before the internet. You know, this was like 1990, before everyone had internet and personal computers. And I said, and they're only here for 2 years, so they build their business, they feel some value career-wise, they build some, you know, financial stability for themselves, for me, and at the end of the 2 years, they give it back, and they move to California or to North Carolina, and they start over again. Wow. And granted, we were doing those orders by snail mail.
Oh my gosh.
So that's really how we got all over the country, was that stop into Hunter. And that lead came from one of my people who had long since retired.
That's so cool.
That's where that lead came from. That was really fun.
That is so cool. You know, I noticed our time. We're probably going to have to wrap up. But is there anything you would like to leave the small business owners watching this?
Let's see. Be smart. Don't be arrogant. Ask for help. There's a lot of people out there that would love to mentor someone else who's already had the path and who's already taken this path. Absolutely. Reach out to others. You know, run your business like you would run your house. Make it sound. Make it financially feasible. And make it feel like home.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Congratulations on 28 years.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It's people like you that have helped me. Absolutely.
Well, thank you for
everyone.
watching Open for Business. We'll see you next time.